Please note that the content of this episode has explicit language and is not suitable for underage listeners. Welcome to Secrets from a Phone Sex Queen, everything you always wanted to know about phone sex and more. I'm CJ, let's get started. We're going to continue to talk more about the types of calls I get. First, I want to say that I'm not always in the mood to be on the phone. Yes, I make my own schedule, and what motivates me is primarily money and the need for it, not necessarily the want. But also, I want to be there for my regulars as well as new callers. So I log in anytime I'm home. I start to feel guilty doing nothing if I lay on my couch wanting to relax. It's really hard for me to do that. I get these pangs of guilt if I'm home too long and not logged in unless I'm super tired, then I don't log in that night or that day. It's just become a habit, something I've been doing for so long that I feel like when I'm home, log in. So the next type of call I want to talk about is the taboo role play. So taboo, I believe, is subjective. The definition of taboo, well, the short definition is prohibiting or forbidden discussion of a particular practice. So on my profile, I put that I do taboo conversations or role plays, if you will. Some people call and know exactly what they want. Many callers ask me what I think taboo is. I never answer the question of what I think taboo is because, again, it's dependent upon what you deem taboo. So I try to let the caller tell me. Having said that, some taboo topics are role plays of threesomes, daddy-daughter, mother-son, rape, anything that has to do with bodily fluids, brother-sister, basically any family member, two men, a threesome where the husband-boyfriend watches, of course, underage, which I do not do. People try to trick me and say, oh, you're young. Young, again, is relative because if I have a 40 or 50-year-old caller, let's say 50-year-old calling me and I tell them my age is 36, that could be young. At least that's how I see it. If they want young, I try to stay away from an age. I will say, let's not talk about age. Let's just say I'm younger than you and we can go from there. If they go down a path that I'm not comfortable with, I kind of stop talking and they get the message. They either continue to talk to me or they hang up. Another example is that it could be as simple as a religious person who is not supposed to have sex, and that is taboo. So it really could be a whole lot of things, a whole host of different fantasies and role plays that incorporate what people think are taboo. Another taboo thing is going to an adult bookstore and going into one of the movie rooms where there's a glory hole. For those of you that don't know what a glory hole is, it's a hole in the wall where people put their penis through the hole and there is someone on the other side to suck it. And there's a vast array of things that happen in that movie room where they can leave the door open. And I think I've mentioned this before, and guys come in and do all sorts of things, and that can be taboo. Another example is going back to religion. If you're a very religious person and you're only supposed to have sex with your wife at certain times, and in some religions oral sex is taboo, you're not supposed to do it, it's forbidden, or masturbating is forbidden, and you want to talk about those things or experience those things, then that's taboo. So I do a wide variety of taboo calls, and to be quite honest, some of them are interesting and fun because they're outside the box, and if the caller enjoys it and it's not too off color for me, then I enjoy it as well. I mean, this list can go on and on. It could be teachers and students and all sorts of things, and you get the idea. Just think of anything that's, really forbidden, and that's taboo. And when I say that I enjoy it, I mean I enjoy it because they're enjoying it. To be fair, most taboo things are not supposed to be talked about, but there are always ways around it to satisfy the customer. I like it just because it's different and it takes me out of the same type of role play that I hear or call that I hear. So role playing can be kind of fun. I recently had a call with a man who said, I see you do taboo calls. I said, I do. He said, I want my wife to watch you and me having sex and to bring in a younger girl. I said, okay. So we start talking and role playing and we're having sex, and he says, how old is she? I said, she's young, but let's not say an age. He said, okay. He asked if her pussy was bald. I said, yes, and he liked that. And I said, you undress her and you kiss her. And the minute he said the age he liked, which was far too young, I said, let's not say her age. And he hung up. For the calls I get, that is the way to get the caller to hang up, by me not saying her age and agreeing with them. They'll say an age, I won't agree, they'll hang up. She can be a teenager, no problem, but I know what is too young and not acceptable. And I don't have to hang up on them. They'll hang up on me, and that's quite okay. Sometimes we go back and forth, and they'll say an age, and I'll go, and I'll ignore it. But eventually they'll hang up. They want to hear it. That's a big part of the taboo. They want to hear that they're doing something to a young person, and I won't go down that path. Let me delve deeper into the subject of taboo. I occasionally get calls where someone wants a taboo role play of mother and son. I say, okay, as out of the norm as that is, why not? It's just a phone call. And to be fair, I really don't get a lot of mother-son calls. It's mostly daddy-daughter if it's a family member or step brother-sister. If I can call a man daddy, then I can hear someone call me mom or mommy. It doesn't feel great, but I go with it. But when does it go too far? Here is an example. I've had a caller for several years. Now, let me preface this by saying I'm not always comfortable with this, but like I keep saying again, that everyone needs someone to talk to, and I happen to be the person this man wants to talk to because I make him feel safe to share, and all of this time, he is comfortable with me. So he feels safe and comfortable with me. He hasn't felt that way with any other phone sex operator. So we have a phone relationship. He really wants to have sex with his mother. And when I say really, I mean really. He also wants to masturbate in front of her. He's married, has kids, is extremely religious, has women's clothes that he occasionally wears when no one's home. He loves masturbating with a Kotex or a diaper. He even wants to experience being an adult baby for a day. When he travels, he has paid for a transvestite a couple times, but he really goes back to the mom thing. With the transvestite, he's never had sex with them, and he's never had a blowjob. He's sucked them. That's about it. He has taken his mother's panties, both clean and dirty. I'm not telling you this to shock you. I'm telling you this because although I don't get a lot of calls like this, I can say without a shadow of a doubt that he is not alone. He just found someone, me, to share it with. And when we are done talking, he is so thankful and grateful. He constantly says, I know you don't like this, but thank you. People sometimes have complicated thoughts and fantasies, and I get to hear a lot of them. And like I said in my previous podcasts, and I will probably continue to say, if he doesn't talk to me, he'll talk to someone else. So why not me? I often get calls from married men who call from home on the sly while their wives are home in another room. It is quite risky, but they call. Is it true? I don't know. I assume it is. I recently had a call from a man who said he was going to ask me a bunch of questions and to be completely honest. Yeah, okay. He said his wife was upstairs and that he didn't have much time. He wanted to know if I was a slut. I said yes. He wanted to know what I looked like and if I had high heels. I told him what I looked like and I said yes. How high are your heels, he asks. I said 6 inches. He wanted to know when I wear them. I said when I'm going out dancing and feeling naughty. He asked me if I had been with 2 men before. I said once. Did I like it? I said yes, of course I did. He wanted to know if I would humiliate him. I said that was not my thing. He said, just say that my cock is not as big as other men's cocks. I said that I could do. He said, would you tell me to get on my knees and eat your pussy, even though I have bad knees? I said no, because I know you're in pain. He said, well, not that much pain. I said, if it wasn't too much pain, then yes, I would say that. Then he said, would you take your foot with your heel on and put it in my chest and dig it in there if I wanted you to? I said yes. He said, would a gangbang of 10 men be too much? I said yes. 6 would be better. But if he wanted there to be 10, then that would be fine. He wanted me to be gangbanged by 10 men. Tell him that they all had bigger cocks than him, wear my heels, and keep the cum of all 10 men in my pussy. Then he wanted me to stand over him while he licked me clean. Just from the sound of his voice, I would never have thought that is what he wanted. He had one of those gruff-sounding voices, very manly, so I never thought that he'd want to lick me clean from having 10 men come inside me. He asked that if he called me back, would I really come for him on the phone, and I said yes. He then asked if he could hear my heels on the floor, and I said I had carpet, but in the bathroom he could hear it. Holy crap, I don't have heels. I'll have to figure something out before he calls again. Interesting call. It got into race play a little, but I tried to avoid that whenever I can. When we got off the phone, I was in a mini panic. If he calls back, I don't have heels he can hear. I went into the kitchen and took a couple of knives out of the kitchen to see how they sound on the floor. Not good. We will cross that bridge when it comes. So far, he's not called me back. Okay, I was going to leave this out, but I'm putting it in. Racial calls. I was, not really comfortable with this, but I kept thinking it's interesting to have a brief mention about this. I know if the caller looks at my picture, they see I'm a white girl. Surprise. If I have an African American caller, they will very often want me to say something I'm not comfortable saying, and that is the N word and dick after it. Pause. Think about it. Okay. You got it? All right. I cannot tell you how many callers I have had, and 100% of the time, I tell them I'm not comfortable saying N dick. I'm not comfortable saying N. They know I'm white. They understand. But after they reassure me that it is okay that I say it and that they want to hear it, and they keep repeating themselves that they want to hear it and that they won't hang up and they won't get mad, I very reluctantly say it. Like I said, I had a lot of these types of calls, and I still get them occasionally, and I've never been comfortable with them. But I end up saying it, and it makes them all so happy. They will inevitably say, see, that's not so bad. Yeah, baby. I just find it strange, but another happy customer is all that matters, I suppose. It does leave me feeling bad until the next call. Okay, let's get into domination submission. Okay. Domination and submission is another interesting topic that comes up a lot when people call me. In my profile, I say nothing about domination because I am not good at it. I would say for 20 years, not 20 years, maybe 15 years. I've read books. I've watched movies. I tried really hard to be a dominatrix just so that when callers would call, I could be what they want me to be. I've never been comfortable as someone being dominating. I can be assertive. I can even be aggressive. But to the extent that the caller wants to be dominating is virtually impossible for me. They want me to be mean. They want me to be degrading. I can't be a name caller saying things like, you're a filthy, dirty scumbag pig. It never comes out strong enough. It never comes out mean enough, sincere enough, whatever it is to pass off as a dominating woman. I have looked up phrases that men would want to hear, and when it comes out of my mouth, it sounds horrible. I mean really bad and not powerful enough to sound like I mean it. Fortunately enough, when those callers call and I'm working on the platform I'm working on now, I can tell them I'm not the right woman for them. I would say most of the callers appreciate that because they don't want to waste their time or their money talking to someone who's just not satisfying them, like I mentioned previously with the humiliation calls. It took a lot of effort for me to say I'm not the person for you instead of trying to be the person they want me to be. Knowing your strengths and your weaknesses in this job really helps, and being straightforward and honest, it's really important because you can fake it, right? But sometimes you just can't, and you have to know what your abilities are. So I am not, nor will I ever be a dominatrix. And when people call me mistress, it just makes my skin crawl and my ass pucker because I'm not. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with not being a dominatrix. I don't want to be. In my early years of doing this, I had a caller who would call and he really wanted to be my slave. He wanted to come and live with me and cook for me and clean for me and pay my bills with his money. And he said he's done that for a couple of women and he really wanted to do everything for me. And all I had to do was boss him around. He was really sincere. He said I wouldn't have to walk anywhere. I would sit on his back and he would take me to the bathroom while riding on his back. He would be my human toilet paper. In my real life head, I thought that sounds like a great idea. Why not have somebody cook and clean and do my laundry and everything like that? But reality sets in and you think, well, first of all, you don't look like your picture. Second of all, you don't want to meet these people because something is clearly wrong. At least that's how I felt back then when I started. But then I thought, boy, that could be fun. If I were that type of person, which I'm not. According to him, people took advantage of it and he loved it. He loved serving and being told what to do and, serving as being of service. I just couldn't wrap my head around it. I'm older now and yes, I get it, but I still wouldn't do it because I don't meet these men. I'm not that way anyway. I wouldn't feel comfortable having somebody here that I don't know doing things for me as my slave. So that's one instance of being dominating to a submissive. He said that he would sit in the bedroom while this couple that he was working for had sex, and he would get the man ready for her, and he would do all sorts of things. And when I think about that, I still scratch my head and think, in real life that sounds interesting, but it's not anything for me. It's just not my thing. So it was a nice thought for about a minute. Now, being submissive is a whole other story. I'm much better at that. I am much better at taking direction, at being told what to do. It's easy when a caller calls and they deem themselves dominant and tell me what to do. I just enjoy that better because it's less work for me. I've had several callers. One comes to mind where he will call, and I really enjoy talking to him, non-sex wise. So he'll call, we'll have a couple of minutes of banter, and then he'll get right into it. Talking to him is fun. However, he's a caller that talks for quite a while, and his expectation is that he will tell me what to do, that I will do it, and have many, many orgasms while we're talking. I have to earn my money. I have to get him off, and it takes a while. So I have to sound like I'm enjoying it, that I'm having an orgasm multiple times. That's submission, doing whatever the person wants you to do, especially on the phone. When I get off the phone with him, my voice is shot for the rest of the night and the next day because I have to sound like I'm having multiple orgasms. When I say multiple, I'm not saying 2 or 3. I'm talking maybe an hour phone call with a minimum of 6 orgasms, very loudly. My neighbors must love me. If I don't do what he says, he's not like he's going to spank me or anything like that. He'll just hang up and find someone else. So I have to submit to him and do what he says. Some people want to hear you slap yourself, spank your butt. But for the most part, the orgasm is enough. I'm definitely wiped out after him. If nothing else, this man has a great voice and demeanor. He would be great to know in person. Too bad. He calls about once every 2 or 3 months. And the one thing that makes me laugh is that he asks me to do things like stick your hand behind yourself and put it in your butt and put your other fingers in your pussy. And I'm thinking to myself, what am I, Gumby? I'm like, can a girl really do this stuff? I can't. But he thinks I'm doing it. Another caller that comes to mind that is dominant for sure is a guy who would call me and ask me to gather certain items that I may need to use. Now, this could be under taboo, but I think this is more about submission. And he would say, do you have a wine bottle? Yes. Do you have full-length mirror? Yes. I don't have a full-length mirror, but I'm not going to go out and tell him that. And I'm not going to go get a wine bottle, but he doesn't know that. I just have to yes him and tell him whatever he is saying, I am doing. With the wine bottle, he wants me to lower myself down and insert it inside of me. Of course I'm doing that while looking at myself in the mirror. And this goes on and on about going up and down on the wine bottle and fuck the wine bottle and how sexy do I look looking in the mirror. I much prefer submission over domination most of the time. I'm much better at that, and I want to go with my strengths and not my weaknesses. So no domination and definitely submission for me. Now, this is a strange one. It is morphing. I don't know what you would call this, but I call it morphing. It could be something else, but that's what I call it. What this means is, and believe it or not, it happens more often than one would think, is we start out a call where we're having sex, me and the caller. It's great for the guy, and all of a sudden they turn into a woman. I'm not really sure why that happens, and frankly, I don't care. I just find it unique and actually kind of strange. For example, I got a call the other night and we're talking, and unfortunately I couldn't really hear the caller too well. They had an accent and the phone was muffled, but I got an idea that we were having sex. Okay. All of a sudden his voice gets really high and he goes, what happened? I'm a woman now. What happened? Then I heard quite clearly he said, did you put a spell on me? I'm now a woman. I said, yes. It seemed like a good idea. He loved it. That was a unique one where most of the time they'll start out as a man and they'll end up having women body parts, and we're now having sex as 2 women, and they just love it. And I'm not really sure why it happens. Quite a bit. It could be envy, wanting to have breasts and a vagina, but I think there's something more to it. I'm not really sure why, but I find it fascinating every time it happens, and I can't really ask them why that it is, because that will take them out of their head and into a realistic moment. So I just go with it as I do with most calls, and go with it and find it interesting. And every time it happens, I just giggle a little bit inside. It's like, so you started out as a man with a penis and now you're a woman. It baffles me, really. It does. But, I just got to go with it. So we are at the point of today's question. So today's question is, don't you find phone sex degrading to women? This could be a touchy one, but the quick answer in my mind is no. Why would it be? In some sense, I find it empowering. Men are calling to tell me, a woman, most of the time, what they want to do to a woman or what they have done. It is sex. It's all about sex. It can be degrading. For example, if a guy comes on a woman's face, that is meant to be degrading. If you're using the word degrading, that is the definition, a man coming on your face. But even on the phone, I tell them, can you come on my tits? I much prefer that. If they say no, they want to come on my face, and they are more demanding, then I know their intention is to be degrading, and I will sound like I don't like it, which I don't, and they like that because then they feel that they are accomplishing their mission. It's just phone sex. It is meant to be fun, not degrading. Even name calling, bitch, slut, whore, even the word cunt. Since I hear it so much, I don't find any of it degrading. Some men call with the intention of degrading a woman, and I can tell that's how they are in real life. You can kind of get a feel. I'm not in their real life. I am in their fantasy life, and I feel sorry for the women who he has or gets in his real life. But I don't feel degraded at all. I feel like I have all the power. And again, at the end of the day, I'm on the phone. I don't find anything degrading about it. I think there are other things that are much more degrading. So, degrading to women, I think that I have to be honest, that when I was doing webcam work and them seeing me felt, I don't like to use the word degrading, it was more icky than phone sex. Phone sex is very anonymous. When someone's actually looking at you on video, there is more there. And I think that could be much harder and maybe the degrading to women possibly. But at the end of the day, it's only sex and it's only fantasy. And I personally don't find it degrading. I do believe there are women out there who absolutely do, and they have every right to feel that way. But personally, I don't. So that's all for this episode. Thank you for listening to Secrets from a Phone Sex Queen, everything you always wanted to know about phone sex and more. And don't forget to please email me your questions or your comments, or if there's something you wanted me to talk about, I will be happy to do it. Email me at phonesexqueen1, that's the number 1 at gmail.com. You can follow me on Instagram at phonequeen1 and on Facebook at CJCJ. Until next time, stay sexy.